I just think this is such a great conversation because it neither validates nor invalidates believing. Like, we have to believe something.
Right.
Gotta believe that the earth is solid beneath us as we take step forwards. We have to believe that if we eat enough calories during the course of the day, we get up and wake up and play again tomorrow.
Hmm.
So those are the things that keep us going through time and keep us alive. And then there are beliefs when you really adopt one that basically says, if I can be curious, I can grow and learn. I love that one. That's the one that made the biggest difference for me.
And I think the whole element, yeah, I think there is this element. I mean, I think if you lose curiosity or the desire for learning or information, then I think that's probably, I mean, to me, it's the downfall of cognitive ability because there's no stimulation, like your
Right.
brain, so therefore you go into cognitive decline because there's a lack of curiosity and desire, like, which if you look at kids and their inquisitiveness from the time, like their exploration, you know, and that doesn't need to end no matter how old you are, that idea of exploration.
Yeah, and when I said earlier about, having that response that makes you feel more youthful, I actually think that that's where it places you in that curiosity zone, and it's now okay not to know everything for a minute.
Right.
It
Well, I
really
think
does.
sorry, because I think about aging and I think about if you look at like the studies where like older people go in or kids go in and older people are there to teach them something.
Right.
How, being around kids and their ability to explore and be curious and to remind you
Yes.
what it's like to be curious and explore, and the fact that you may not know everything is not a
Yeah.
bad thing. It's not negative.
Yeah. I'm in, a city that I haven't been in for 2.5 years, in Denver. And I'm having physical reactions to several different things. My sinuses are totally struggling.
Mhm.
Uh, if I don't drink enough water and take ibuprofen, then I start getting these headaches, and then start getting dehydrated and all the rest of that. And then uh, just let's pretend like I told you the whole litany, okay? Now the neat part of it is then I get to be around my 9 and 10-year-old grandsons, and they are absolutely uh, fresh. They're unpredictable in many circumstances, and yet we still have these little nonverbal things that we can do. I can bust them up in a second just by looking at them in a particular way, and it challenges me with them. I do want to impart some of my age and wisdom to them, but I also understand that my wisdom is useful to me. My words may not be useful to them. So rather than telling them or telling them a story, I like to ask a question and then kind of tease answers out of them.
Mm.
Watch their minds work. So in one case, like for instance, the younger one is 9 years old. His name is Lincoln. And he's more up for this game than Jack is, to be perfectly honest with you. Jack's the 10-year-old. And Jack knows everything. And Lincoln is more subtle, and he's more interested in the people part of it, the interaction, the relationship. We have this little game that we play with each other, and he taught me when he came out to my house last summer. But we'll be kind of not looking at each other, and all of a sudden just say "love you," and then the other one goes "love you." So the point that I'm making is that although I would be thrown to tell them things and expect for that to make a difference, I actually know with some certainty that they're actually not listening. So if there's a difference that I want to make, I have found it's better to ask a question and wait for the response and then to engage the response. Tell me more about that. And what does that mean to you? Just those sorts of things that I'm not giving them an answer, but I'm allowing them to explore the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I love that. And then the other way I think that it's really, I think valuable, like the word valuable, to impart wisdom is by your actions.
Yes.
So really the way they see us, you, me, interact with other people and interact with everything. So the earth, you know, the, you know, people learn by example.
Yes.
And so I feel like that is a huge way where you don't really need to say anything. You're
Yeah.
just who you are, and that's the way they learn, you know?
Yeah.
And I was listening to someone who was talking about her grandson or whatever, and she was talking about I don't know, she must be our age, maybe a little older, and her grandson had to write a report about, like, the person he considered, like, his hero or whatever, so he chose her, and she thought he chose her because she's done all these different things with her life, and he said it was because when she told him a story at one point that when she was in school, there was a boy who they picked on for wearing glasses, and she didn't pick on him, and that is why he chose her, because she kind of stood up for the underdog,
Yeah.
and she was, like, floored because she said it was really like, she didn't even really remember telling him the story, but it was kind of like that was what made him that was like, he considered that obviously really important, like, or just monumental, and
Yeah.
so that's a story, but still we do impart a lot of information and wisdom and, you know, an influence over things we actually, quote, unquote, "live."
Yes. Yeah. So though that happens in getting an experience of being successful at doing what you just said is about 5% of the time. The rest of it is like trying to get a squirrel to do something.
Yeah, true.
They are so animated and they have their own language that involves their entire body and they're constantly giggling and wrestling and they're just so awesome together. And, sometimes it's hard to get an experience in edgewise, if you will. But, you know, they, uh, they inspire me by how they are with each other and how they are with us. And it's just rarefied air, not because of the altitude here, even though we're 5,000 feet above sea level. It's rarefied air to be around them and to observe them, and then to also, from time to time, see where my interaction with them is coming from me, that's not about them, that I need to take a look at and pull it back.
Right, but also the fact that they're different, like you talked about, and I think that that's, when if you look at individuals and realize, you can have that whole game of or the whole tweaking out of information or imparting knowledge by way of questions with Lincoln, where you can't have it with Jack. And, and realizing that, certain aspects of who we are, like almost we have to switch to interact with different people.
That's perfect. While you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, yes, it's a different, language and communication technology with the 2 of them. They just don't respond the same way to the same things, and thank God for that. So, the needle
Absolutely.
so I would say to you, in my experience, may or not be true, but the language that gets developed between people and animals they've been around for a while, especially years or dozens of years or 15 or 20 years, get to the point where neither, like the person or the dog or the cat need to say anything at all. It's almost like an old married couple, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I think that there is something to voice, I
Yep.
mean, there is a connection, and I always say because, like, if I'm on screen and, somebody has a dog and I change the tone of my voice, Tonka comes running as like, "Okay, who you talking to that you have that tone with? That's not me." You know? You know? And you
Yeah.
get the same tone when you talk to a baby, like, there's a real lightness and like joy to it. And he's like, okay, like you're talking to somebody and but there's an energetic there's an energetic language which happens, which sometimes we're not even aware of. Like the other day, we have our routine and all of a sudden he got up and usually he's in bed when I get up and kind of when he's ready to get fed, he kind of comes out because he knows food's involved. And he came out like so much earlier and just started to like cuddle me and to lean against me. And I'm just like, and you're kind of like, and then I sit there and I say, okay, what's energetically going on? Like, what is he feeling? What is I'm feeling? Because obviously there's a language that's happening, a communication that's happening on some sort of energetic level
Yeah.
that sometimes we're not, and then it's always fun for me to sit there and say, "Oh, okay, like what is this really about?" Like what or I mean to enjoy it obviously and not but just try to just sit with it and say, "Okay, this is what's happening." But there is a communication that happens.
Absolutely. And there's another kind of a neat thing too, is that um, I had a friend at one point who told me that kids and dogs hate him. And I said, "Why do you think that is?" And he said, "I don't know." I said, "Can I take a stab at it?" Mm. He said, "Sure, give me your best shot and see if I'm still standing, Bill." So I said, "Well, what if they're gonna let you know that you're being phony with them where adults won't?
Mhm.
And how are they gonna do it? They're not gonna pay attention to you. They're gonna withdraw from you. They're gonna pull back. And when you shift your attention from trying to be clever for them and putting on a demonstration or a show, if you just get interested in them and who they are and what they're doing, now suddenly you're very interesting." And I said, "I can't tell you how to do that." I said, "But I invite you to take a look." And he said, "Well, you're a real butthead, but thank you very much."
Mhm.
I saw him again about a week and a half later, and he said, I had a breakthrough with my sister's in-law's 2-year-old. And when we got together, instead of trying to make faces standing up, I got down on the floor, down to her level visually, and got my face right up next to hers and let her pull on my mustache. And boy, did she start giggling.
Mhm.
Now, for some reason, every time I walk into the room, she just lights up like a Christmas tree.
Mhm.
And I said, "Well, what did you learn out of that?" He said, "It had nothing to do with my trying to be cute for her, the way adults try to be cute for kids. It had everything to do with what you said, getting interested into who they are and genuinely, getting into their world."
Yeah,
So,
there's something of true value of getting down on their level. Like I
oh, yeah.
and I think that that works on so many like that's also like if you just look at it as part of a physical thing that we're big and we're high up and they're not looking at us most of the time. Like, when you get down on their level, whether it be an animal or a child, you're on eye level with them. And
Yes.
there's something that's truly unifying and I think a lot less threatening if something's actually on your level. And I'm not saying get in somebody's face, like especially if
Yeah.
it's a dog, but being down. And I remember one of the first vets I used for my dog. I loved him because he just automatically got on the floor with him. It
Yeah.
was like he wasn't standing up and talking to me. It was kind of like, well, I'm going to be here with the dog